Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL commander, says discipline beats motivation. He's dead wrong, and I'll prove it. Throughout my YouTube journey, I've been a curious observer. I've watched how new YouTubers do things, and I've watched how my own brain works in making videos, through journaling and reflection. Through this experience, I've started to learn how people work growing YouTube channels. After all this time, I've noticed that new YouTubers who focus on motivation fail, and creators who focus on discipline also fail. Instead, you should be focusing on something else. When I had this realization, I started to realize that many successful YouTubers like MrBeast, Marques Brownlee, and Peter McKinnon were all saying the same thing, but I couldn't quite wrap my head around how important the idea really was. So in this video, I'm going to share exactly what you should be focusing on, and it's not motivation or discipline. This one thing is the secret to YouTube success. And when I say success, I don't mean just getting views. I'm talking about building a personal brand and a profitable YouTube business. I'm also going to share specific examples of how you can implement this theory so that you can achieve your YouTube goals. At the end of this video, I'm going to share with you the number one most powerful thing that I've done to grow this YouTube channel that ties in to this theory. You can start implementing it today, and it only takes 30 minutes. But it'll double your productivity and triple your happiness. Seriously, this is powerful. If you find this valuable, let me know with a like button. But before we get into what you should be focusing on, I need to explain a couple of things first. These explanations are essential for me to explain to you so you can implement the secret to YouTube success. The first thing you need to understand is what Jocko Willink says about motivation and discipline. His whole idea is that motivation comes and motivation goes. Some days you wake up motivated, and other days you wake up completely unmotivated. Because it's so unreliable, you should never focus on it when trying to achieve your goals. If you rely on motivation, then on the good days you'll make progress towards your goals, and on the bad days you just won't do anything. You've probably seen this in your own life. You set yourself a big goal and get really excited to achieve it. You rush in, doing everything necessary to achieve the goal. But a few days or even hours later, you feel demotivated and no longer want to pursue it. Because you were relying on motivation, you now lack the drive to do what's needed to achieve the goal. Jocko Willink, on the other hand, says that discipline is what you should focus on. Discipline, unlike motivation, doesn't come and go. It is consistent, something that can be trained and built over time. I completely agree that discipline is way better than motivation because it can be developed over time like a muscle. It's a skill that you can improve on, and it's way more reliable than motivation. The next concept I need to explain is the path of least resistance. This is why I believe you shouldn't rely on discipline either. The path of least resistance is something I learned years ago. In general, things like to take the easiest route. Think about a river and the way it flows through a countryside. It doesn't try and go through rocks. It goes around the rocks and finds the soil and the sand. That's an easier route to carve its path. This principle also explains why wolves became dogs. Back in the day, wolves had to run for kilometers to hunt for food. Then humans started feeding them their scraps. The wolves realized it was easier to rely on humans for their food than to go out and do the hard work of hunting. Over time, they started to depend more and more on humans for their food, taking the path of least resistance. This same idea applies to raccoons and foxes. Instead of foraging for food in the wild, they'd often dig through trash cans because it's an easier way to find food. This theory explains why you shouldn't rely on discipline. Like motivation, discipline comes and discipline goes. Some argue that discipline is not a finite resource, but you try going through life surrounded by temptation. Instagram, TikTok, social media distractions, eventually you will cave. No matter how much you try to resist something, if it's constantly in front of you, sooner or later, your discipline will fail. Instead of focusing on discipline, listen carefully, because there's an easier way. This is the secret that successful YouTubers like MrBeast, Marques Brownlee, and Peter McKinnon use to build and grow successful YouTube channels. That secret is designing your environment. You don't rely on willpower or discipline. You change your surroundings so that the path of least resistance leads you to success. Humans and animals take the path of least resistance, just like a river does. If you make video creation easier than the things you shouldn't be doing, success becomes effortless. Let me say that again. If you make the creation of videos easier than the things you shouldn't be doing, YouTube success becomes easy. Here are some specific examples to apply this concept to YouTube. For making YouTube videos, I used to struggle with distractions trying to edit my videos. Every time I sat down to work, I'd start checking my phone, I'd start checking social media, or watching other videos on YouTube. The path of least resistance was procrastination, not productivity. So I set up a dedicated editing workspace with no distractions. I removed social media apps from my phone. I even put my phone on the other side of the room and scheduled focused editing time. You could also set a specific time each day for your editing sessions. Put on some noise cancelling headphones and get in the zone. By making the right choice, the easy choice, becoming successful on YouTube becomes effortless. For recording your YouTube videos, if you want to make the filming process easier, set up your camera, lights, and microphone in a dedicated space where you can record your YouTube videos. The easier it is to start filming your videos, the more likely you are to stay consistent. Now think about your YouTube goals. Identify the actions that you need to take to achieve them. Then make it easier to make the right choices by designing your environment for success. The less you have to rely on motivation and discipline, the more success will come naturally. The other thing successful YouTubers have is a community to get accountability and feedback on their videos. If you want to join a community of new YouTubers all growing their YouTube channel together, I'll put a link to join the YouTube Mastermind community on School in the description down below. If you don't know what niche to choose for your YouTube channel, then watch this video here where we show you in 3 simple steps how to choose the perfect niche for your channel.